started this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the next item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from the June 18, 2024 meeting.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes, June 18th.
I'll second.
Okay.
McLean,
Yes.
Calvin,
Yeah,
Parks,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Upshot.
Yes.
Dees.
Yes.
item 3 on the agenda is the consideration and vote to recommend approval of the final plat for the JD condominiums at 1102 Durham Drive, Aspen Grove, Durham, LLC is the applicant.
Yeah, so got approached earlier in the year by Michael O'Hara of Aspen Grove, his attorney, who was planning on purchasing the JD apartments right now, with the goal of turning them into condominiums, separating them off so people could have some affordable housing. And throughout that, we've gotten a final plat from Alan Brandrews. This property is at 1102 Durham Drive, where we live at the middle school. So with them separating these all off, they also, in their plat, have 2 proposed new buildings that they're planning on building in the future. They don't have a plan set or anything like that, but they wanted to get them platted. That way they can save on that process along with the required parking. Aspen Grove Durham will initially own all the condos until they're sold. Aspen Grove Durham intends to honor all their existing leases after the platting process is completed. Plat was reviewed by Public Works Director Reeves and staff, and almost all review comments have been satisfied. The only review comment that I had on it that we're still waiting on is to extend a sewer easement to cover our sewer. I think it was just missed in the first round of comments, so they're working on that, and they'll have it done shortly. So sections 10.520 through 10.540 in the LDO cover regulations for condos in Paola. All the required documents were submitted to staff. For off-street parking or condo section in the LDO, there isn't a whole lot of detail on some of the requirements, so it leaves a little bit of room to be set by staff. But after looking over several other condo sites, this company in specific has done one in Lawrence. 2 per dwelling unit seemed really reasonable, and they were able to meet that. Common open space for the use of all of the residents there required is 20%. And by my math, they were right around 70%. There's quite a bit of open space. They have a playground in the center, and then all of the yard area will be included in that. All of that yard area will be owned by the condo association. So in essence, a homeowners association of sorts, and they'll be maintaining all the grass and all of that, so the individual homeowners won't have to worry about that. For utilities and facilities, the LDO requires that all units shall be separately metered for water, gas, electricity, and sewer. And as of now, they are all separately metered. Staff's found the application is consistent with section 21.620 of the LDO. And the application will not be detrimental to the health, safety, and general welfare of the community. Staff's recommendation is for the approval of the final plat, the JD condominiums, with the condition that it satisfies all review comments.
Comment? No questions or comments? Do I hear a motion?
I would make a motion for approval of the final plat for JD condominiums with the conditions that it satisfies all reviewed comments.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion, and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote.
Clean,
Yes.
Cameron,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Mauer,
Yes.
Upshaw.
Yes.
Dees.
Yes.
All right, the next item on the agenda this evening, item number 4 is the consideration and vote to recommend approval of the preliminary site plan for phase 1 of the tiny home cluster development at 1004 North Pearl Street. My father's house is the applicant.
Yeah, so my father's house has submitted a preliminary site plan application for a tiny home cluster development located at 1004 North Pearl Street. The site plan was done by Peppercorn Engineering and Environmental. The preliminary site plan was reviewed by staff as well as Wilson and Company, engineers and architects, with minimal comments. For analysis, the minimum site area required for a tiny home cluster development is 1.5 acres and provided is 8.93. Setbacks for this zoning district are 15 feet for street yard, 8 feet for rear yard, and all setbacks in this case have been met. And in the tiny home ordinance that was adopted last year, I believe, there is a section in there that planning commission can set different setbacks to allow for better flow of the property. In this case, they don't need any less. They've got plenty of room. I think they're around 25 to 27 feet at their closest. For a buffer yard, 6 foot, 100% opaque fence is required and provided is a 6 foot wooden privacy fence that will encompass the entire rear of the property. For parking, required is 45 spaces and provided is 25 in the circle and approximating around 50 in the existing current parking lot. They don't have it striped, so just kind of took some measurements with the cars there, and there's quite a bit of parking there. All dumpsters must be enclosed by a masonry or wood structure. That will be verified during the building permit review. They do have a storm shelter provided in the site plan. Sidewalks are not required, however, the developer plans to install a pedestrian lane around the circle to allow pedestrian traffic. A signage plan was not provided, and it will be approved at a staff level for the building permit for this. Landscaping plan will be submitted for staff approval during the permitting phase. Drainage calculations will be reviewed during final site plan phase. They were part of Wilson's review comments to have a storm study, a drainage study done, and to get a letter. So that'll be part of the final. Staff has found that the application is consistent with section 21.625 DLDO. The application will not be detrimental to health, safety, or general welfare of the community. Staff's recommendation is the approval of the preliminary site plan for phase 1 of the tiny home cluster development at 1004 North Pearl Street.
Comments, questions?
Or did I miss that, for fire protection?
For like as far as the sprinkler system or
But no, the
Just-
tiny homes
Mhm.
in this circle. If there's one catches fire, what's the provision?
So I believe in setting the regulations for it when they were set, that's why they set the minimum spacing to 10 feet, because that 10-foot mark is Where the International Fire Code comes into play with, having fire rated walls or.
That's between the units.
Yeah, so that's what they have.
Okay.
I didn't give you guys the second page, but on their second page, they kind of have a little snippet of the spacing of the houses. More so for phase two, that will come off of some of those. They're spaced at least 10 feet.
Well, this may be a later date, but.
Yeah.
In other words, if. Well, number 7 or number 8. Were to have a problem or needed an ambulance to get in there. Is that pedestrian lane? Capable of handling a vehicle to go around there, or?
So part of their CUP was that there's no on-street parking in there. So they're following their CUP, that'll be completely open. The pedestrian lane should be 4 feet. It's a 20-foot wide street in there. Or 24-foot wide, pardon.
Yeah,
So there should be plenty of room for emergency vehicles going through there. There shouldn't be any cars to worry about, and there should be plenty of driving lane.
I guess that was my question, whether the fire department had signed off on that, or?
I did send everything to our fire reviewer, sent what you guys have. And he said everything looked good to him. He told me, my only concern on my comments and on Wilson's was this, kind of curve going into it before the circle, on the sharpness of it. And, he had referred me to section, it's appendix D in the fire code, which sets those radiuses. And I had talked with, Gabe Peppercorn about it, about kind of shallowing in that corner. I also talked with the fire chief about it, and he had said as long as the road is wide enough there, if they have to cut the corner, then that's what they're gonna do. But it does meet the minimum radius for that inside corner, as well as the rest of the street.
And just to clarify, that is a hard surface street all the way around.
Yes, yep.
Okay.
It is. Yes, it's asphalt.
The pedestrian,
Yeah, the entire circle, street is all asphalt.
And that street's in addition to the pedestrian.
So that street will encompass the pedestrian walkway.
Okay.
Originally, they had designed it to have two-way traffic around it. But when we got to talking about sidewalks, in place of doing sidewalks, we had both agreed that having a pedestrian lane around it and keeping one-way traffic so there wasn't any confusion going back and forth, would be a smarter option in it.
Okay.
And there's still plenty of room for driving
Vehicles through there. Anybody else have any questions?
The additional parking that you mentioned, was that on the front of the existing building or the rear? It's at the front?
The front, their current parking lot now, yes. Which as a part of phase two, they're planning on paving all of that.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to recommend approval of the preliminary site plan for phase 1 of the tiny home cluster development at 9004 North Pearl Street.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I would like to see something from the emergency written into it that it is approved
Okay.
for them you know, for fire protection or an ambulance to get around the circle.
Yeah, and I can send this for an official review for our fire reviewer. This is kind of why I wanted to take this through preliminary first and then, final to kind of get everybody's feel for it and to give us some time to kind of work through that. So I can definitely have that done before the final site plan.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to see that for our protection. I'm signing off on this. That's really all I've got.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Any further comments? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote.
McLean,
Yes,
Common,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
Mauer,
Yes.
Upshaw.
Yes.
Dees.
Yes.
Item 5, Community Economic Development Director Report.
So permits to date. 274 as of last Friday. Since our last meeting, Inspector Buckles has started and he's hit the ground run. It's been nice to not have to worry about anything. He's been I would say one of the most knowledgeable inspectors we've had in quite a while, so he's great. All the contractors are loving him. Really easy to get along with. Lake Mary's overall final was today for their office renovation. They got their dorm final done previously and believe they just have a couple, everything's good on the building side, the fire side had a couple comments, so they're getting close to being completely done. The fiber projects in town have been put to a stop due to several city and private utilities being hit. Contractors they haven't been as careful as they should, so Kirk's put a stop to that until they can get a sound plan in place. We're gonna break it up a little bit smaller where we can actually manage it. And they're working on kind of redrawing everything to smaller sections. Mariah has been updating documents for the city website for building inspection and planning and zoning. So all of our forms have been updated. She's going over the frequently asked questions right now. So she's staying busy. At the July and August city council meetings, council approved ADA ramps to be installed in front of the museum. Those ramps have been installed. They're just, I believe they're just have the railings to put in. Borough 3 final plat passed. Firefighter Dennis Hinman received his 50-year service award. And the Paola wreck will be moving to the stone house up at Wallace Park here before too long. So they'll have new headquarters up there. It'll be great because it's centralized around the park.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. Wanted to get y'all's kind of input on some topics that we've gotten phone calls and questions on, that we don't really have any set regulations on. The first is beekeeping. The library recently had a beekeeping and bee exhibit, I guess. And so people have been interested in it. I've done some looking into it, other jurisdictions around here, and quite a few of them have some regulations set where they allow it, but they have to meet certain regulations. So my plan was for next month's meeting, hopefully have all the information together where we could have maybe more of an in-depth discussion about it, and then I can actually put a public hearing together and a proposal and everything to get a LDO text amendment done. Okay. Along with that is chickens. They have become quite popular in town, with people wanting to get them. Right now, the LDO has a minimum of 3 acres to keep they're grouped in with any sort of farm animals. I've looked into that as well, on maybe getting some regulations where they're allowed on a little bit smaller size lots with so many of them. So that's another thing we'll be looking into. Not really LDO regulated, but our street tree requirements for new houses. Right now, we require a street tree for each new house. But with our right-of-way sizes, it just leads to more problems, bucking the sidewalk up and cracking it. We've had several problems, which then we have to take care of them, cut them down, trim them. I've spoken with the city manager about it and the public works director, and we're kind of all under the same decision that we're probably gonna get rid of the requirement for a street tree. Maybe add in another front yard tree or another landscape unit. Recently, we've had some interest down at it's like a 1.2 acre lot down at Cal Street.
By the apartments down there.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's question is, can I have a gravel driveway? And our LDO requires hard surface off any public street. So we may have, there is a section in there where planning commission can approve a deviation of the residential requirement. So we may have some applications for that coming in. If somebody buys it, but I've gotten probably 4 phone calls this week about it, so. I don't know if they dropped the price on it or what, but. And then next month's meeting, should be the final site plan for tiny homes, possibly AEC ponds. A preliminary plat for them. I've still just been waiting on all the documents to review on it, but we've got so far.
Anybody have anything for staff? All right. Hearing none, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Second that motion. Adjourn.
All right. All in favor? Go ahead and call.
McLean? Yep. Callan?
Yep.
Parks?
Yes.
Upshaw?
Yes.
Did I skip you?
Yes.
Christie?
Yes.
It's okay, she made the motion.
So.
It's okay. All right. See you all next month.